AI is a program, they call it an agent, but it's a program of some kind which is aware of its surroundings and can begin to make its own decisions to achieve a goal that we give it. So here's one of the statements that I hear all the time when I talk about AI, is it's going to take my job from me. So let me just give a little bit of perspective on this. How many people know what this is? Script sync, right, from Avid. And basically, script sync relates the audio, it listens to the audio in your audio files, and it relates it to a text that you give it, and it intelligently figures out where they're related to each other. I would say, arguably, one of the reasons why script sync was hard, why it wasn't adopted widely, is because people kept on saying, I need to hire someone just to do this job now. It's more work, it's more jobs, not fewer jobs. So this is a joint project between Adobe and Stanford University, which basically looks and listens to the dialogue. It's only really good for dialogue right now, but it looks and listens to all of the shots, all the takes. It transcribes and then associates it with the lines of dialogue and can stack them up. So you could do what ScriptSync does in Avid right now, which is to say, play me all the readings of Brian's, come on now, that's a bit dramatic. And it will churn them out one right after another. And it does that without needing a day's worth of line scripting your text as it comes in. Right, so this is scary, right? Assistants no longer have that job. No, it's not so scary. But this is actually creating that metadata, the scene, take, character, and size of shot, because it's also doing visual recognition. It works mostly on dialogue right now. It only really recognizes that. And it certainly doesn't recognize what's good and bad performances. And it certainly doesn't recognize nuances or anything like that. That's what editors get paid very little amount of money to do. What's the ideal shot for our audience? Because, as I always say, we're creating stories for an audience, a particular audience, rarely a generic audience. So what is the right image for this particular audience? And it will enable us to do searches on massive amounts of footage much easier. I don't know about you, but even my students at USC are now shooting way more footage than is healthy for any editor, period. And I'm sure you find the same thing in your work as well. You may be guilty of it, of shooting too much footage. But how do you even simply go through 5 hours worth of footage every day? You can't, not if you want to actually edit it as well. We can now see a day in which we'll be able to extract the emotions out of individual shots and present it to us so that we can say, we want it to be sadder now, or we haven't been happy in 15 minutes on this film. We haven't had a light scene or a light shot. So this is sort of, if you take a look, this is my obligatory Walter Murch mention for tonight, because I know I always have to do that. So we all know legendarily that, like, this is how Walter sort of sits in the in his editing room and prepares cards. This is from a doc he did a couple of years ago. And each shape means something to Walter. Each color means something to him. I have no idea what that is, but it means something to him, and that's what's important, that in terms of the person who's putting all of this together, that we help to organize it, that we really sort of need help to organize massive amounts of footage. So it's sort of a heightened version of what he does now, except how do we ascribe emotion to shots? And there are actual programs that are doing that now that are so much better at it than humans. Humans are notoriously horrible about recognizing emotions from other people, except at the extremes. This is using the Microsoft Azure platform, and that's how sure it is that these emotions happen. So here's a JPEG, so a still shot in which it's super sure that there's happiness involved here, right? Maybe overmuch. That would be bad acting. But happiness is there. Disgust, contempt is like very, very low. It's a minus 11th power. So we can begin to now look at visual images and get emotion analysis out of this. There's a company called Affectiva, which is doing something with moving images right now. It's being used in commercial industry. What they're doing is through looking at the audience, through cameras looking at the audience and scanning the faces in exactly the way that Stanford and Adobe did, they're able to read emotion analysis. And this is what we do so fucking horribly with those preview screenings, right? Where we ask everybody, what's your favorite scene? What's your least favorite scene? And usually the same scene gets listed on both somehow. And that's true. Favorite character, least favorite character. Oh, my least favorite character is the villain. No kidding, right? So these are not really good tools to help us gauge what an audience is feeling. I like sitting in the middle of the audience and listening and see when they get up and go to the bathroom. That's a much better indicator than the preview surveys. So do you have the rights for this? How much is it going to cost you? Is it shot on 4K, 2K HD, whatever? These are the search criteria now. But when we combine that with emotion, wouldn't it be sort of awesome if there's a plugin in our timeline where we're looking for stock footage for something and we're looking for something with a color palette that agrees with the rest of our movie, we're looking for something with an emotional palette that feels appropriate for that scene? Now all of a sudden our searches get much more personal and much more directed to what we need. Unity is a programming language. It's a platform. It creates real-time rendering of maybe uncanny valley, but basically really strong characterization, strong characters of film as we know it. A film that was done for Unity to publicize it called Adam. So the way it's lensed and focused, we know about that. It's all done inside Unity. We can see a world in which utilizing this kind of real-time engine to build our stories, to cut in it, to shoot in it this way, is going to be integrated with all of what we do right now, hopefully in a seamless way. That's new technology, telling stories in the ways that we've always told. So what I hope we'll take away from this is, yeah, it's scary because it's new. It's scary because there are things that we don't really know about. We also don't know how it's going to turn out. But at the very basic level, the idea that it's going to take all of our jobs is absurd. But it's also an incredibly fantastic challenge for us to how we can better meet the needs of our audience, to tell stories that they're interested and to tell the stories that we as filmmakers are interested in. So that's what I'm hoping we take away. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk about this.